F is an ordinance introduced by City Manager Dr. Robert Perez for the purpose of establishing funding for increased costs for the development project at 32nd Terrace and Topeka Boulevard, and an amended and restated development agreement for implementation of the Southwest 32nd Terrace and Southwest Topeka Boulevard Community Improvement District and Tax Increment Finance District redevelopment project plan between the City of Topeka, Kansas and 911 Walton.
Okay, Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the governing body. Rhiannon Freeman, our Director of Planning and Development, will introduce this item.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. All right, good evening. So 911 Walnut, this is also known as 32nd and Topeka Boulevard. If you'll recall, it's been a little bit since we looked at this development agreement that was previously approved. So I'm going to run through some quick slides here just to help refresh everybody's memory. So back in June 13th of 2023, the CID district was established and a development agreement was entered into with a total development cost of $15.1 million being associated with the project. Some amendments that have been requested by the developer is an increase that reflects an increase of construction costs from $15.1 million to $16.6 million. This increase is directly impacted by improvements to address traffic, site access, and then circulation as well. So the developer has proposed an option here to use a home rule ordinance to utilize $600,000 of citywide half-cent sales tax to address the improvement to Topeka Boulevard, and then $300,000 of general City of Topeka sales tax to address the improvements that are needed outside of the existing boulevard alignment. And as you'll know, the difference between that is the difference between what the half-cent sales tax can be used for, existing infrastructure, and then the general sales tax to address the new additions that will be put in place as well. So the restated development agreement has a maximum reimbursement amount that is set to right around $4.4 million plus reimbursable interest. And then this slide just kind of takes and breaks down. So what you'll see here is this goes through all of the schedule of the costs between acquisition, site prep, soft costs, vertical construction, and then it shows what costs are applicable for TIF reimbursement, CID reimbursement, and then it also breaks out the costs that can be applied through the city sales tax with the existing roads, and then also the general sales tax. So the city sales tax column with existing roads is that half-cent sales tax. So you'll see that these numbers align to the maximum reimbursement amount of the $4.4 million. So one of the things that we required the developer to provide was a breakdown that showed us exactly what elements of the project would fall into each of the funding buckets, just to make sure that we were very careful to ensure that they were being allocated in the appropriate way. So this exhibit H2 that's in the restated development agreement also breaks this down for you in your packet. The eligible expenses do have capped maximum amounts. $600,000 is the cap for the citywide half-cent sales tax and $300,000 for the general tax. Some additional notes that we thought would be important to point out is that under the SDR terms that are in the development agreement, it clearly states that the citywide half-cent sales tax is set to sunset in October of 2029. And without a vote to approve the extension of these funds, they will not be guaranteed to the developer past its expiration, should they no longer be available. All right. Well, with that, I would stand for any questions.
Questions for Rhiannon? Councilman Duncan.
And just to clarify,
Sure.
the sales tax we're talking about is only sales tax collected on site, right? I just think that's important for people to know. This isn't
Sure.
sales tax collected outside of it when people want to shop at those locations.
Sure, that's correct. Yeah, it's only a percentage of the sales tax that the district collects itself.
Perfect. Thank you.
Councilman Dover?
Thank you, Mayor. Just to follow up on Councilman Duncan's question, how much sales tax was collected before these developments occurred in that specific area?
In that specific area? None.
Okay, thank you. So this is proceeds that are going to, sales tax proceeds that are going to be here only because of the two developments, two restaurants. Thank you very much.
City Attorney?
I just wanted to add a brief point of clarification because this is than what you've seen, just to make sure that it's explained. Oftentimes, we do this type of transaction through the original CID. However, because the CID has developed and now it's separate and out and all kinds of property owners and you have different rules, it was much more complicated to amend the CID to allow this than to do it through a home rule ordinance. The result is the same, but that's why it's being done through a home rule ordinance rather than through an amendment of the CID, which means the mayor does not vote versus on a CID he would vote. So slight differences, but the end result is the same.
Thank you, ma'am. Deputy Mayor.
So this is my district. And correction, there was actually an establishment there. There was a bar that was there that brought in some money, but it wasn't bringing in what's going to be brought in with this year. But I have an issue with you come to the table asking for something, and then when things change, you want to come and ask for more. This is $900,000 that we can use in the city that we desperately need. And so to, take money that would be coming to us and help a developer that's probably going to make $1 million this year to top one of each of those locations, and now they want more money, and it's kind of aggravating from my side of things, especially because I represent such a low-income side of town and people that deal with issues, and I'm grateful that they came to our side of town. I'm grateful that they are doing things that bring jobs, bring more options to, but it's just, I'm not a person that likes someone to come for a second bite of the apple, especially when we're facing what we're facing right now. Rounded up, it's $1 million.
The city
That's $1 million
came forward with
a lot of places.
$1.6 million in new charges.
Councilman Dutton.
Thank you, Mayor. I voted against the CID, right? And I won't go into my history of why I don't like CIDs one more time. You've heard that right before. But my point is, I can support this because we ask developers when they come to the table all the time to be flexible. We have to give them the same respect when things change. And in this case, things changed. And they were things that partially had been foreseen by staff, partially hadn't, there was a lot of moving parts to this. Things changed. So I can support this to that point. If we're going to continue to ask developers to be flexible with us, there are times we've got to also be flexible with them. So as much as I didn't even like the original CID, it's in place, and I want this to all succeed, and this gets that done without us having to add more taxes to folks. It still just applies to those locations. So thank you, Mayor.
Councilman Dover.
Thank you, Mayor. Quick follow-up comment, and then I'll make a motion here because I already pushed the motion button. So. I don't disagree with what Councilman Kell said. And if times were normal, where inflation on construction projects was a couple of percent, something like that, I think that'd be a valid point. Two things happened here. I think the improvements to the boulevard were a little bit more than they had expected. And secondly, we're living through a time right now where construction costs the inflation on construction costs is unbelievable. Upwards of 40% in some cases. It's just a tough time to do estimating for any project this kind. And frankly, we wouldn't get these kind of amenities in our city if it wasn't for developers willing to take the risk. Will they make money? I hope they do, because they need to make money to continue in business. I think this is a legitimate request, and I will support it, and I will make a motion to approve.
We have a motion and a second from Councilman Duncan. Okay. Any further comment? Okay, we'll set the screen for a vote.
So we have 8 yes with Deputy Mayor Kell voting no. The motion carries.
Thank you, Rhiannon. We'll move on now to.
Approved.